But your name and just give me a brief summary of yourself.
My visit to TT, Trinidad and Tobago, is part of my global research on the ground, not just by watching a video or watching a documentary or reading a book or something like that. And I want to understand humanity in its totality. That's why I on a global tour, not just in one country, one culture, one people, but in all of them. The Caribbean is part of humanity, so I cannot just ignore the Caribbean and talk about all other regions. And that's my motivation.
I see. That's a very interesting point you raised in terms of your message or your advice you would give to us here in Trinidad and Tobago. You are a very well-read individual and you have a lot of accolades as an academic. Is there any other advice you would give to us or give to our leaders in authority as far as how to progress with our foreign policy in global politics?
Another thing I also noticed too is that everything has a cost and has a benefit. And therefore you cannot just copy other countries and other people for whatever you do. You need to come up with a solution which is uniquely yours. Because if you keep copying from the advanced countries, sometimes you end up copying their problems and their models, which may not fit into yours. So I think that in the case of the uniqueness of TT, you can still focus on what you have been doing, like your natural resources, tourism, and all that. That is your natural strength. But do not try to say you must have what other country A, B, C, and D have because they are much more advanced than you are. So if you do not have what they have, then you are bad. I think that is very destructive. This is form of inferiority complex that smaller countries need to avoid. You need to be proud in terms of what you have and exploit what you have and be successful in your own way. Not that you must be like A, B, C, and D. I think that this is one of the major problems that I have encountered in many countries which are small, weak, less powerful. They look up to others, and in the process, they import too many problems and without solving the problems. That's my second my advice to you.
That's a very important point, and a lot of times we tend to fall in that trap of trying to model ourselves behind Western nations and we end up inheriting their own problems. But shifting gears more towards economics now. We are an oil-rich nation. What I would like to know is in terms of diversifying our economy, in a country our size, do you see any major challenges to that happening? We've been trying to diversify our economy for decades now, but with very little success. What is your advice in terms of
because I have been in more than 110 countries now all over the world, and I can make some contrasting comparison. Contrary to what you may think, Trinidad and Tobago is not that bad. In many ways, you are much, much better than many other countries that I have been in. Look at some of the countries in Africa. You are much, much more advanced than they are. In a way, Trinidad and Tobago is a middle-income country. It's not as rich as the US or the Scandinavia or China and all that, but in many ways, you are way ahead than many other very poor countries. Look up of your neighbor, Venezuela, or now Haiti, for example, Jamaica. I think in many ways, you are much better than they are in terms of the economy. Now, answer the other part of the question, what are you going to do to diversify? I think that diversify is important, but on the other hand, I also think that you need to focus on what you are good at instead of trying to see what you should do. I copying other countries or other economies because you do not have what they have. But remember, no economy is perfect. Each economy is good in certain way, but bad in some other ways. They have certain strengths, but they have certain weaknesses. Look at Australia. Australia, many people do not know. Australia is not like China. China manufactures everything. But Australia, they don't manufacture much of anything. They export a lot of, let's say, agricultural products. And that's why Australia now is dependent on China for trade because China import a lot of raw materials, agricultural products from, let's say, from Australia, and Australia in return import a lot of manufactured products from China. See, it's give and take. Each country has its own comparative advantage, for example. So you have to know what you are good at and what you are not good at. But don't think that, well, because you are not like the US, you therefore have to copy what the US has. But you are not the US, they are not you.
Understood.
Look at you, you are a journalist, right? How come you are not a basketball player? Are you going to be sad tomorrow? You need to diversify, you need to spend more time now to be a basketball player. Are you a soccer, a wrestler, a singer? You are not. But doesn't mean that you have to diversify now, spend half of your career in singing and half your career in playing basketball, but that's not your natural advantages. That's not your skills. That's not what you're good at. So in the case of TT, you have to say to yourself, what are you good at? What you are not good at? Those you are not good at, well, you do not focus on that. Focus on the thing that you are good at and import the thing that you are not good at. So don't think in this kind of mindset. I spoke to a lot of people here and also in many other countries too. They often look up at the major powers and say, well, they have that, we do not have that. Maybe we should have a spacecraft, send some workers into space too. We should do that also. Why they have to copy everything they do? Why not be happy with what you have, focus on what you are good at? You can be very successful like that too. Look at Australia. Scandinavia, but many of them also do not manufacture much of anything. Do you know that?
Yeah.
But they live well, okay. So why do you not just do something that you are good at and do well on that? Then you will have money to buy what you need to buy.
Understood.
So
I don't think I have any more questions. Is there anything else you would like to add?